It is May 16th, 2018. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Raj Giri. Justin LaBar is with us today. Matt Morgan, unfortunately, could not make it, but he'll be back on Monday talking about SmackDown Live for May 15th, live from London. Justin, how's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Man, what a difference a 2-hour show makes. Raj, what did you think of last night as compared to Monday?
Man, much better. I thought it was a good show. Really, top to bottom, there's nothing bad on the whole thing. So it was entertaining, nothing earth-shattering. I never like seeing the champion losing, the world champion losing, but it was telling a story. It's building to something else. And obviously they don't care too much about protecting AJ. But that was a really good match. So I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah, so started off with, let's see, we had Daniel Bryan talking to Renee Young. Bryan talking about the state of things before being interrupted by Big Cass. So this is still going on. Justin, what do you think? How do you think Big Cass is developing as a monster heel in SmackDown?
Well, by the reaction he got, I mean, he's getting a lot of heat. Don't define the type of heat he's getting. Whatever, he's getting heat. That's his job. He's getting booed. He's being the big man who's picking on the little guy that everybody loves, who's back from several years of being out because he thought his career's done. I'm okay with it. I like the whole story of Cass and Bryan. I'm always been a fan of the big guy, the David and Goliath thing. I think Cass got a lot of potential. I mean, he certainly. There's more to be done with him, develop both character-wise and in the ring, but I'm fine with it. And I thought Cass, kudos to him, I thought he sold really well. When Bryan started attacking the leg, go back and watch that. Cass was selling and screaming, as he should, because that's the leg that had him injured for 8 months. So I thought he did a great job selling. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Big Cass, and I like the Big Cass Dana Bryan interactions. Yeah,
I kind of wondered if he was being punished a little bit here. I wonder if the normal storyline would have been Cass, taking out Bryan, but instead he got, not only did he come talk smack, but then he gets his ass handed to him. But I gotta say this about Cass. I thought his promo was great. His delivery, at least. I think he needs to tweak aspects of it, but he's confident. He can go out there. He doesn't sound, totally scripted. So I thought he was really good. Daniel Bryan, I think he's the best babyface promo right now in the business. Like, he really gets fans into it. He seems genuine. I can't think of anyone that's as a babyface that's better. Can you guys?
Not better. I mean, I think Seth is pretty good. They've given him a mic lately.
Well, people are most invested in Daniel Bryan because there's the most under. I mean, this is because there's so much real. Here's a guy who had a great rise at WrestleMania 30, and then everybody's hearts went out for him when he had to retire and stayed retired legitimately for a couple of years. So he's the best babyface promo. That's not to discredit him, but he also has the easiest path. I mean, he has everybody in the palm of his hands right now. So,
But I think even before that, if you go back to when AJ was wrestling Brock last, at the Survivor Series, and then Daniel basically cut AJ's promo for him, and it was way better than what AJ could do. And that's not a dissing AJ. He's just, the promos are not his strong suit. And not disregarding Seth. Seth's not bad, but I just don't think he's on Daniel Bryan's level.
Oh, it's totally different. It's different. And for Seth, what's been working really well is Seth almost appearing just overwhelmed at the response he's getting, like it's taking him by surprise. Like, that's what seems genuine. That makes it good. But no one's really doing the underdog babyface angle that they're giving out a mic time to right now, aside from Daniel.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? I mean, there are people that get a face reaction, but I mean, Daniel Bryan has such earnestness in what he does out there.
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley has really good sisters. So,
can't wait for that on Monday.
Kick the crap out of him.
Can't wait for that on Monday. Just appointment viewing, folks. Sami Zayn with Bobby Lashley's sisters live on Raw.
Maybe it'll be revealed that Jason Jordan is one of Bobby Lashley's brothers. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jason Jordan in drag.
So Cass again quickly. That was my only thing. Cass sold it, but these quick tap outs, for me, he loses all credibility when the second Daniel Bryan gets his hands on him in the right way.
Cass there's definitely a punishment factor, which I think is if that report out there that is true, that he was being punished because he did more than he was supposed to when he attacked the little Daniel Bryan. To me, it's like, come on. we tell these guys not to walk. You know, we hear from Vince McMahon himself on Austin's podcast. We hear from Jim Ross. We hear from everybody. These guys are complacent and nobody wants to go out and grab the brass ring and they walk on eggshells. Well, so when somebody goes out there and says, "All right, I'm going to get my heat. I'm going to ask for forgiveness later," and then they get punished. It sends a message of, okay, don't try to do anything other than what we tell you, which I think there's a difference between being insubordinate and wanting to try things. I don't know.
Well, I agree with you, Justin, except that where he was stupid was that he went and asked, and they specifically said no. He should have just went and done it, and then afterwards just said, "I was feeling it. The crowd was into it. You know, I just thought it would make for good TV." And then at least it makes it seem like you're not just completely disobeying them. You just kind of went off script a little, as opposed to being specifically told not to.
Fair enough.
That's where he messed up, but hopefully. Hopefully he's not punished too much for it because,
it's in a feud with Daniel Bryan. I mean,
right, but I mean, this just happened. I mean, if the rest of the feud is him just getting his ass kicked and then, going down the card, that's not going to do him any favors.
It's true. Do you guys feel like there's, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like there's an elephant in the room with this, that Cass has never really given a motivation for hating Daniel Bryan, and I feel like in an alternate, less scandalous reality, Cass has some really good lines about being sick and tired of little guys who run their mouth in that WWE ring. I feel like that's the most natural motivation for this, but of course they're not going to mention it.
Well, I think, what would have made this feud a lot better is if Cass comes back, he's beating up a bunch of smaller wrestlers, for a few weeks. And then finally
really drive it home,
talk smack after each match. And then finally, after one of them, Daniel Bryan comes out and stands up to him. So then at least you have a real reason why this feud started, as opposed to just out of the blue.
Wait, when you say beat up a bunch of smaller wrestlers, do you mean like smaller guys like Daniel Bryan, or do you mean like midgets?
Yeah, like the guys that the Ascension used to squash back in the day. Not.
I thought you meant call like little people. Little people are us, and like have a parade of. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just laughing at the absurdity of that. That sounds like a Vince McMahon thing. In every city, we're gonna get a midget wrestler, and we're gonna have him backstage.
Little person.
Yeah, you're gonna. I'm doing his Vince McMahon though. He's like, I don't care if it's a little person. I call them midgets. We're gonna get a midget wrestler, and Big Cass, you're gonna go there. You're gonna beat the crap out of him till Daniel Bryan comes in and saves the day.
Hornswoggle's in a different outfit every week.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, but just being a bully, and then finally Daniel Bryan stands up to him. It's kind of like the school kid standing up to the bully, and I think that storyline would have resonated a lot more than just. But you know what, WWE does this all the time, where it's just feuds out of the blue with no real rhyme or reason.
Yeah, it's like they don't even think about it. In creative, no one's like, "Hey, hate to raise my hand, hate to be this guy again, but what's his motivation for doing this?" And it's like, "Shut up, go get his coffee."
Yeah. Right. Yeah, especially when you have the dual branded pay-per-views now. You don't need to rush these angles. You didn't have to have Daniel Bryan and Cass at Backlash. You could have done it at Money in the Bank and had to get more of a natural build.
Yeah. So Money in the Bank qualifying match last night. I don't know if this means the tag team Money in the Bank is not happening, or if this means that this is the groundwork for tag team Money in the Bank, but we had the New Day versus the Bar. The conditions of this match were that the winning team was going to get to select one member to go on to the Money in the Bank ladder match next month. So New Day versus the Bar, this is what, third or fourth week in a row we've seen this. The New Day ended up winning. Justin, what do you make of this angle and what it potentially foretells for Money in the Bank? Do you think it's going to be New Day selecting perhaps Big E, or do you think they might pull out a tag team Money in the Bank after all?
I don't think we're going to get a tag team Money in the Bank this year. I think it's going to be. I think it's something. I think it's what's old. I think it's rehashing something, but it will be in a new format. It's we've seen success with the New Day playing the Freebird rule when they've had titles. Now it opens up a whole new possibility that they could do a Freebird rule with the briefcase. They're going to pick one of the three of them to win the briefcase. Imagine if one of them does, and then imagine if we spend time having, okay, here comes Kofi with the briefcase. He's going to tease it. Nope, not going to happen. Here comes the Big E next week, and then eventually when one of them wins it, what if one of them? I mean, all three of them have escalated to heights that I don't think any of us ever thought they would be. And what if one of them was to in fact become a world champion, and the world title actually was, they were referring to themselves as all three of them being world champions. I mean, there's a ton of there's a ton of rich potential, and then one of them gets jealous, one of them turns. That I think there's a ton of potential if they do in fact want to see this through. I think there's a lot of creative potential what they could do here with a Freebird rule of a briefcase.
Yeah, I think I've always saw world title potential in Big E, and so if they did want to go that route, I think Big E would be that guy to put in this match. I'm guessing it's going to be Kofi, but it was pretty clear, I think, that they were saying that one of them will be in the Money in the Bank match. It's not for a tag team. It's not for another Money in the Bank ladder match. I don't see them doing a Money in the Bank ladder match. I know that was teased. I know they had the tag teams doing those promos, but I think it would just be a cluster unless you did just 4 teams. I mean, if you did 8 teams, that would be ridiculous. But Battle
Royal at that point. Right.
Then you got 16 guys. I mean, that'd be nuts. But if you did like 4 teams, that's 8 people. That's the same as the other ones. I'd rather see a cruiserweight one. I think they could do some real cool stuff. You could put it on the pre-show, get people amped, but and it at least gets them on the show because they're struggling with the dual branded pay-per-views now. They're hardly getting any TV time.
I just wonder how many Money in the Bank ladder matches can you put on a show and not overkill the gimmick?
Yeah, that's true. That's why I'm saying if you're doing a third, I think it's better not to. I think it's better to stay. I actually think it's just better to do one. But I know they want to do a woman and a men's, so
mixed gender Money in the Bank.
Yeah, Raj, it's a woman's world. We have to give some love to them too.
Well, or maybe you could alternate year after year, but I don't know. I think I agree with you, Justin. I think anytime you have a specialty match like Hell in the Cell, Elimination Chamber, just doing one has way more drama and a big event feel. But at the same time, when you are trying to push the women on the same level, you got to do it.
Even Royal Rumble, has anybody realized that in a 4-month time span, we've gotten 3 Royal Rumble matches, a men's, a women's, and then a greatest Royal Rumble? Like, this is overkill.
Yeah, that's got to be a record, right? I remember Russo would book Royal Rumbles on Raw every now and then. But, I don't think there's ever been 3 in 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah. So this match, man, Xavier Woods hit the flying elbow on Cesaro for the pin. So the New Day gets to pick a Money in the Bank, gets to pick a member to go on to that now. Interesting how they're filling all this out.
Yeah, I'm guessing it'll be Kofi. You remember, Glenn, you were saying on Monday how there's usually a random person kind of put in.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, Kofi's kind of that guy.
It'd be good. I mean, Kofi's great.
He's spectacular in these. So.
Yeah. So after that, oh man, we got another vignette for the Bludgeon Brothers going for creepy. The one part though, the Bludgeon Brothers, their first line is "Family is weak. Family is for the weak," and I was like, "You guys are brothers." Like, well, crapping over everyone else's gimmick. Just saying.
They suck.
Yeah,
I like them as wrestlers, but this thing sucks.
Well, they're keeping them off TV. I mean, it's kind of weird when the only tag action we've been seeing front and center is New Day versus The Bar. Sanity, we got another promo for Sanity last night. Sanity debuts next week, maybe. Money in the Bank? I don't know. Man. You kind of blink and miss it. When you see the Sanity promo, part of me is just like, oh, is this some Mr. Robot thing, some new USA show? And then I was, oh, okay, Sanity promo. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Speaking of call-ups, though, Andrade Cien Almas debuted last night with Zelina Vega by his side against Jake Constantino. What do you think, Justin? How do you think Andrade looked in this debut, and what do you think they should do with him going forward?
I mean, he looked fine. There wasn't much to really measure it off of. It was we've seen this before. Build to the debut. Have a series of matches against enhancement talent, aka jobbers. I mean, he looked fine. I mean, the package of he and Vega look really good. I know I've had a lot of questions come on my social media. People ask me, do I think that they'll have Zelina Vega wrestle eventually? Because she obviously is a good wrestler. I mean, I don't want to like, I like the package. I like the package more. I want to see, does this package of the two of them, does it thrive? Is it a Lita S.A. Rio situation where she's going to take off? Or I don't know. I mean, I like the presentation. He's very talented. I know people always want to cite how that WWE wants a Mexican star, so he fills that casting need. I don't know where you put him at first. I'm trying to look across the landscape of SmackDown, and I can't figure out where you. We've had so many between people returning from injuries, people returning from medical suspensions of 3 years. There's so much new, and then they just did a shakeup and then the joint pay-per-views. I feel like there's so much new happening that it's like I just don't know where he fits in right now. It's almost like there's too much new.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of people that aren't really doing much. I think Randy Orton, was kind of, has nothing going on. You could easily put him in with Orton. Jeff Hardy doesn't really have a feud. Hopefully he wasn't injured. He was favoring his leg in the dark match last night. Hopefully it's nothing serious. It was just tweaked. You could kind of put him right in there. I think, like you said, Justin, I think Almas and Vega look great together as a package. I hope they stick with it and don't break them up down the road for no reason like they did with Lana and Rusev. I think they're one that work together, best together as a package. And it'll just be interesting when it comes time to start doing promos and stuff.
Yeah.
Is she just always going to do them? Because, after a while, I could see that getting old. But, Lana and Rusev did it for a while and it worked. So
as long as Almas doesn't have a conga line anytime soon, it'll be fine.
Right, yeah, exactly. So Almas looked good. I think he looked like a star. So, and I think without Vega, he loses a lot. He doesn't look as much like a superstar without her. So, keep him going.
Well, I'll tell you, this is new. That this is the first prominent NXT call up in a while that does not get their first feud with Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
So they're changing the playbook, and that's good. I think him doing these squash matches is probably better compared to, what they did with Bobby Roode, Shinsuke Nakamura, and even Baron Corbin feuding with Dolph. So,
but what do we learn? But what do we, I think there's something to be learned here. We all know the challenges of NXT versus going to the main roster of, it's not the same crowd and it's, bigger creative, bigger everything. I think we could all say the most successful NXT call up, at least in the last year, has been Elias, right? And they eased Elias. Yeah. They eased Elias in. There was no expectation of these big debuts. There was no expectation of big man. They just eased him in. We saw him back. And I think there's something to be said for that. They didn't forget about it. He didn't drop off the priority list. They stay committed to seeing him every week, even if it was just for a quick cameo. And then it went from a quick walk by playing the guitar to a little bit of words spoken. Then he was going to sing a song and he gets interrupted. Then it was matches, which he won and looked good in. It was such a committed, good progression that they stayed with, but they didn't rush it. And I think there's something to be said for that. We keep having all these guys getting called up, Sanity and whatever, all these packages. And I think it almost it's impossible to live up to the expectations for all of them.
But Elias wasn't popular in NXT. I think that he wasn't like one of the big superstars. So I think when they do this big launch for an NXT call-up, it's because they're a fan favorite. With Elias, I think it was a blessing that he didn't come in with all these expectations for him on the main roster.
Well, I think also you got to remember the majority of the crowd watching at home doesn't watch NXT. That watches these shows. So I actually like the packages because I think, Andrade, Cien Almas, he got a good response here. Granted, they're in the UK. But I think by introducing him every week, as opposed to just throwing him out there and having everyone know who, assume that everyone knows who he is, it helps him out. I think that's by doing the packages, it helps introduce him to the crowd. And that's kind of to your point, Justin, that it's kind of slowly introducing him as opposed to just throwing him out there, because you look at the Authors of Pain and No Way Jose and they throw them out there. They get that post-WrestleMania pop, and that's good and great, but then they're nothing 2 weeks later.
So Authors of Pain's on main event this week.
Yeah, so it's like, just remember that most of these people don't know who these guys are. And, do that slow build like they're doing with Drew. I think they're doing a great job with Drew, too.
Yeah, Drew, it's going fantastic so far. So, of course, Almas hit the hammerlock DDT in the middle of the ring for the easy win on that match. So, remember a couple weeks ago, Lana was telling Rusev, hey, maybe Aiden's not what's not working out for Rusev Day. That storyline appears to not be happening, as we saw Lana, Rusev, and Aiden English being quite chummy backstage last night, and Lana talking about her getting a Money in the Bank qualifying opportunity. If she wins that, goes on to win Money in the Bank. She foresees her and Rusev being Mr. and Mrs. Money in the Bank, which for me, I'm sold. Yes, let's just decide it now. I'll spend 6 months to a year with that gimmick.
Lana winning Money in the Bank.
And Rusev winning Money in the Bank, and as a couple?
Yeah.
Come on. That's great TV.
You look, I like the idea of the three of them being together, but this backstage segment felt very mid-card to me. It did. They did not look like a main event act. We'll see where they go with it, but it just seemed like there were three people trying to be heels and having fun, and it just did nothing for me. And I like Rusev. I'm a big Rusev fan, but we'll see.
It's such a broad spectrum of heeldom, though. You compare this to Big Cass, and I think this is what people like more. I think this is people like the heel relishing the role, the more cartoon villain type approach to it. I think that gets you over with the crowd more than just being a bully.
Yeah, my argument is that Rusev should be a face. I
agree.
He's, the fans are with him. I think he'd go in that direction. He seems miscast now as a heel.
Well, that's what's confusing. Yeah, you said it. People love the singing of Rusev Day. They love the chant. They love to cheer when they see Lana. But then yet in that segment that we're talking about, Aiden English takes a shot at London. So it's like just let them embrace and acknowledge the fans and just the three of them together, because Rusev's over with him being the namesake of Rusev Day. Lana's over because she looks like $1,000,001. Aiden English is over with his songs. Let the three of them keep going out there let them go out there as baby faces. That could be a, it's kind of like when they threw New Day together and New Day ended up exploding 4 years ago. I'm not saying this can get to the heights of New Day, but there's potential if you just let them embrace it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it seems like it's so forced with Rusev. When he threw that line about the Rolling Stones sucking or whatever, it just seems so forced. Like, we have to throw these lines in to remind the crowd that to not like us. And they like you, so just go with it. It's like Roman. They don't like him. Go with it. Make him a badass heel. Bobby Lashley. I don't think you're going to change the crowd response. Go with it. He's better as a heel. We saw it in TNA.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Lana against Billie Kay next week for a Money in the Bank qualifier.
I think that'll be ugly.
Yeah, Lana. Well, I've said this before, but Lana looks like the top woman in the company until she gets in the ring and starts wrestling.
Lana, Eva Marie. There's just some women that. They don't. You could have a role for him. Lana is great with Rusev. She doesn't need to be wrestling. You're not gaining anything by having her out there as wrestling, while you're gaining something with her with Rusev. So why do it? And
I didn't watch Total Divas.
If you can find a good role for her, why put her in the ring when it just stinks the joint up and it just makes the product look bad?
Well, because they have that belief of if you have the look, if you have that it factor, they can teach you the stuff in the ring. And if they look at Lana and see the $1,000,000, if they look at Lana and say, okay, she's done Hollywood, she's done modeling, if they want her to be the next Trish Stratus or something like that, they need her to be, they need to sell her being able to be in the ring and have a match. So, I get the perspective. I agree with you that she looks the part and then the bell rings and but she's only going to get better with reps. I hope. It's been like since last summer when they were trying to push her for that, she actually had a match, I think, at Money in the Bank.
She had like 3 championship shots.
Right. I hope that since then that she's been getting reps, whether it be live events or whether it be at the Performance Center. That's the only way you get better.
Yeah.
Because I understand their philosophy. They think they can teach you the in-ring stuff if you have that it factor.
Oh, she was doing the Florida NXT house shows last year in build-up. Yeah. She was doing like the Lakeland Armory and the really small stuff to prepare for this. And that's the thing. I didn't watch Total Divas last season, but from the promos and online, the story has been sold that she wanted to do this, that she wanted to work on her in-ring competition skills. So we'll see. Her versus Billie Kay. I don't know. I have no clue who's winning that match. It seems weird to me that Billie would go in without Peyton. That's the only thing that's making me think Lana has a shot at this. So we'll see next week what happens on SmackDown. Speaking of the women's roster, Celebration last night. Carmella coming out celebrating her reign as champion. Interrupted by, saying she was better than everyone on SmackDown, better than Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss, and Ronda Rousey, better than Trish Stratus and Lita combined. Of course, she was interrupted by Paige, who came out to announce Carmella's opponent for a title defense of Money in the Bank, and that will be Asuka. So how do you think that's going to go, Justin? Asuka versus Carmella.
This one kind of stumps me because I don't know how Carmella gets out of this with Asuka, but I don't see them pulling the title this quickly off of Carmella. So this is kind of stumps me on how they're going to book this.
Iconics, maybe.
It has. Obviously, it has to be something screwy. I just wonder how much screwy do you want to keep around Asuka?
Yeah. Raj, what do you think?
I thought, well, first off, I thought Carmella was great here in her delivery. I thought the content was very basic.
They say not so Great Britain. They use that joke for a heel uses that joke every time they go to London.
yeah. But I thought she was great in her delivery and presence, and she didn't seem like she was reading, but just saying I'm the best and that's it. With Asuka, it's crazy to think how many title reigns Alexa Bliss has had. Now we've had Carmella, and Asuka hasn't had one yet on the main roster. I still don't get why they beat Asuka when it did nothing for Charlotte, when they just had her lose 2 nights later. But that being said, I don't know. I think they have to do something screwy, right?
Champion's advantage, right? DQ count out.
Yeah, but yeah. So if you do that once on the card, it's not a big deal. Hopefully they don't have more than one screwy finish. But I think beating Asuka now, I think it'd be, I think it would suck. But I don't think you should take the belt off of Carmella yet either. It's booking themselves into a corner. I would just, there's so many women you could choose from. Why not go with someone else? But
yeah.
Well.
Renee Young backstage, 2 interviews last night. One was AJ Styles calling Shinsuke Nakamura a con man. Shinsuke responded, giving probably the lengthiest amount of talking he has done on SmackDown since the no speak English gimmick started. This time talking about probability chance. Shinsuke saying Renee was choosing the wrong word. That's going to be a certainty. It's going to be certain that Nakamura is going to hit AJ with knee to face in their match later that night. Winner gets to pick the stipulation for their Money in the Bank championship match. Yeah, this promo was a little tough, but it was what it was. Justin, how do you feel about heel Shinsuke and how they've been doing these these interviews with him?
Good up until last night. Yeah, that was the most talking. I was not a fan of it. I like the no speak English. I like the very, very quick, let the action speak. Let the action do all the talking. I think it works. I think his facial expression, his facial, he's such a master with these weird facial expressions and the no speak English kind of, obviously, just poking fun and being very disrespectful to not answering up to his dastardly actions. I like it. We don't need him to speak that much. So,
yeah. I thought it started off really good and then it just went too long, but, I like heel Nakamura. I think he's got a little extra pep in his step, for lack of a better term. But this promo is just too. I think they just went like a minute too long, but it was all right.
Yeah. Money in the Bank qualifying match: Becky Lynch versus Sonya Deville versus Mandy Rose last night. So this was interesting. The possibility of Sonya and Mandy teaming up a little during this, being competitive with one another, but Becky walked away with the win and got the Money in the Bank spot 2 years in a row. Raj, what'd you think of this match?
It was there. It was all right.
It did indeed exist.
Yeah. Becky Lynch should be in the match, so I was glad she won.
Yeah, Mandy Rose tapped out the disarmer for that. Justin, how do you feel women's Money in the Bank is shaping up? We've got Charlotte, we've got Alexa Bliss, we've got Ember Moon, and now we've got Becky Lynch. 4 slots left to fill.
I think it'll be a good match. I don't think it'll disappoint. Raj kind of took the words out of my mouth in terms of some of the build to it, but it'll deliver. It'll deliver. It's for all these first times of that the women have been doing. They've came off pretty well, I think. So I have no reason really to doubt this one. You don't, and this is not just in WWE. This isn't just in general. You don't often see women in ladders, so that is going to be just that visual alone is going to be intriguing. I'm okay, what are they going to do? You don't see a lot of females doing spots with ladders and stuff like that. So especially in WWE. So. For that point, I'm intrigued. So
how soon before Mandy has that title? I think it's. I'm guessing it's this year.
Maybe. It seems like she inherited the Emelina gimmick, version 2.0.
She has the look that Vince likes. She's improving. She's not there yet, but there's Carmella, and she got the belt. So
Lana better be happy that she has Rusev Day to latch onto, because the Mandy Rose is very much similar to what they had Lana doing. It's just a single star, and so I don't know, a little bit of duplicate there.
Yeah.
Yeah, although Lana had that dancing in her entrance and the scarves in that promo.
I haven't forgot.
Yeah. Oh man, so we got a promo from
real quick. They're kind of running out of women to be in these qualifying matches.
No, there's got to be a second chance. I did the math. Remember, we talked about this Monday. There are 4 women left on Raw for 2 spots, and that's if you include Dana Brooke.
Right. And on SmackDown, I mean, who else do you got that hasn't gotten a shot yet?
I mean, I think next week is it. I think Lana and Billie Kay.
Yeah, but we got 4 spots, right?
Yeah,
so
there'll be a second chance.
Yeah, there's got to be something.
Yeah. It's a problem with 8 women.
Well, why put them in triple threat matches? Why not do one-on-one? You know?
Because they love triple threat. They love anything that gets more people in the ring and on screen at the same time. Yeah. Samoa Joe backstage cutting a promo on Big Cass in advance of their Money in the Bank qualifier next week. Now that's for the last spot in Money in the Bank.
Yeah. You got to think Joe's winning that. Because Big Cass is probably wrestling Daniel Bryan. We'll see. We'll see if it's a squash or how they treat it. But I thought this promo from Joe was awesome.
Yeah, I think Joe needs a win after getting beat by Roman.
Yeah, so Joe is on the Raw side of this tour. Someone in the chat had asked earlier. Yeah, so he's the only one that's on the other brand. He was originally supposed to headline the shows against Roman Reigns. And I guess probably because of the response that they got at Backlash, and knowing the UK is probably going to be worse, they changed it to 6-man tag. So it's now Roman, Braun, and Lashley against Joe, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn as the main event. And the reason why they kept Joe was because it was supposed to be Roman and Joe, and they had no one else better. And I don't think they wanted to headline the shows with Roman and Jinder. So there you go. So Samoa Joe's on the Raw side. We'll be back on SmackDown next week. I think that moving Joe to SmackDown, it helped SmackDown tremendously, but it wasn't well thought out because Raw is really hurting on the heel side.
Yeah. People pointing out in the chat, Naomi has not gotten a shot at Money in the Bank yet. Weird. So weird with the tag division. No Usos, no Naomi.
With the tag division?
Well, no, I was gonna say with the tag because the Usos haven't been around. Naomi was in their storyline. It's interesting with SmackDown, a 2-hour show. You realize how many people they're not using were on Raw. It's like between Raw and main event, they're really maxing out the roster to fill time.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to not be on TV every week. I feel like it keeps the storylines fresher. So, but at least alternate them, because has Naomi been on since when was the last time she was on TV? I can't even remember. When
she helped them beat the Bludgeon Brothers, was that before?
That was before the Greatest Royal Rumble. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, we'll see, man. And the Iconics did a backstage promo last night, which was better than what they did in the ring the week before. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, the main event. Said it last night. You keep doing this match, eventually they're going to do the dream match we've all been hoping for. Justin, how do you think this compared to the previous 3 or 4 outings between the two of these guys?
To me, it was the best that they've had. I know what you said earlier about AJ losing, the champion losing, and I can appreciate your comment for that. But I like the way it's done. I like the Shinsuke kind of pulling the Eddie Guerrero a little bit there, and the distraction with the referee. Oh, he hit me and low. I thought it was good. I thought it was the best they've had. I'll be very curious to see what stipulation of a match they get at Money in the Bank, because obviously they've been fighting so many times on TV now in a short span of time. Obviously, you need a stipulation that's just how this needs to progress. So good by them that they're going to do a stipulation. I'll just be interested to see what it is and what kind of expectation it puts.
Yeah, I think their matches have gotten better each time since WrestleMania. I thought WrestleMania, their match was a big disappointment. I think a lot of people did. It just because so many people were expecting a dream match. It wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't what people were expecting. And it's gotten better each time, but then it got hurt by the crappy finishes. And yeah, I thought this one, I like the clever ending. AJ, man, when's the last time? How often has he won on TV this year on SmackDown, not at pay-per-views? I just feel like they don't do enough to protect him more. But that being said, I like the ending too. I like the Eddie Guerrero, the wink to Eddie with that ending. I thought it was clever. It hasn't been done in a while, so it was cool. It was a good match, and Shinsuke gets to pick the stip.
Yeah,
cup on a pole match is what someone in the comments suggested.
Is it going to be something good? I feel like when they do these pick the stipulation things, it's one of the same three things.
Like no DQ,
or no DQ, false count anywhere, Extreme Rules.
Yeah, last man standing.
Yeah, last man standing with the nut punching.
That's what. Maybe this could be a last man standing, but you can only the count can only follow after a nut shot happens.
A ball shot, nut count, last man standing match.
It's so amazing that they've made this the cornerstone of the feud. So last time we talked about pulling the Eddie Guerrero. So yeah, Shinsuke faked when the ref's back was turned. The ref turns around. Shinsuke faked like AJ hit him with a low blow. AJ goes to argue with the ref. Shinsuke then gets him in position to pick up the win with the Kinshasa, and then went for the pin. Yeah, man. Like,
what if it's a take? We've seen first blood matches where the person who draws blood, maybe it's like a first ball shot. Whoever gets the first one in.
Yeah, Veggie Gamer is pitching a ball shot only match.
that's how you win.
Take turns until someone can't get up.
That's gonna be Vince McMahon has to think that's the most the greatest test of manly strength, that you just hit each other in the nuts till one can't stand anymore.
The funny
giant grapefruits.
Yeah.
The funny thing about it is if Vince is the one who creatively is behind or really likes the whole ball shot theme in this feud, it's almost like he's trolling the audience, because it's like, here's two guys that can do almost anything in a ring, but they're going to resort to what a fifth grader would do in ball shots.
You go back to like Undertaker and Lesnar was like, and then you're going to hit him in the nuts. It's like, what? It's just no, trust me, it'll go.
Don't get me wrong. Even with the toughest of guys like Lesnar, don't get me wrong. If well timed and well placed, a ball shot is a very effective move.
Oh no shit! That hurts in most moves
in a feud. But the fact that, as one of you just said, it's become the cornerstone.
Yeah,
it's
Well, it's so absurd. Actually, the funniest moment I've ever had at a live event was the first NXT show I went to, like Aftershock, and I forget who was wrestling. It might have been like Elias back when no one knew who Elias was, versus like Samoa Joe when he was a face, and someone in the crowd just shouts out like, "Punch him in the dick," and it was just like everyone erupting in laughter because it's just absurd. But this is like the hallmark cornerstone of this feud between these two.
Someone wrote 2 out of 3 balls match. So
balls
first person hit two ball shots. There's a bunch of them.
It's amazing, but hey, you know where this makes sense with Camp WWE got a second season. Vince McMahon, everybody. That's all you need to know.
That's probably one show on the network he watches.
Yeah. Absolutely. Man.
I want one of the loyal Wrestling Inc. podcast viewers. I want them to do the justice, and I want somebody to count how many times we've said balls in this podcast. I expect a full report by the evening.
Which is weird too, because probably since the early 90s have I not talked about nuts and balls this much. And now it's like I looked at my Twitter feed, I'm tweeting all these things about punching people in the nuts. It's like, dear God, I'm 42 years old.
We probably said balls more today than
all
the episodes combined.
Last time I said balls on a podcast was when Balls Mahoney died.
Yeah. But how else are you going to describe it? I think if you go back in the archives, we were tactful at first. I think we were like, he hits him with a low blow.
In the groin.
In the groin. Yeah, now it's like, I just don't care anymore. There's no other way to discuss this.
The lower regions.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. They're very blatant about saying, it's medical facility and maybe there's always a lower region, or there's a medical name for it all.
Right.
Yeah. Oh man. So SmackDown last night. Justin, how do you think it compares to Raw?
This would have been perfect for Great Balls of Fire if they
seriously. Should have brought it back this year.
Yeah.
What are we getting instead? What's the it's Extreme Rules, right? Before SummerSlam?
Well, they dropped a bunch, so I think that's just one of the ones they dropped. Yeah. But that was the July pay-per-view last year?
Yeah.
So this year it's
Extreme Rules here in Pittsburgh in July.
Yeah.
So last night, SmackDown, Justin, how do you think it compared to Raw?
I enjoyed it more than Raw.
Yeah.
And I think from most of the stuff we talked about, there's been some entertainment in all of it and the stories. And again, I've said it many a times, just the 2-hour format helps. 3-hour format's very, very taxing to get through. It's almost impossible to pull off 3 solid hours with commercials of keep me, invested.
Yeah. Yeah. I think SmackDown's been on an upswing. I think the Superstar shakeup benefited them greatly. And we'll see if they keep this streak going into Money in the Bank, which is, God, a month away. What, a month from tomorrow? So be here before we know it. What else have they set up for Money in the Bank, Raj?
Oh, so we got AJ versus Nakamura, obviously, with the stip to be decided. You guys think it's time for Nakamura to win that one?
It'd be cool.
If it's going to happen, it needs to happen now.
Yeah. It would be overkill, but by going past it. So I think there's no Universal Championship match, so that's the only men's world title match. I could see a title change happening there.
Yeah.
Nia Jax. So here's where I feel like they kind of booked themselves in a corner. You got Nia Jax versus Ronda Rousey. Seems like they just threw together, 15 minutes before they announced it at upfronts, and then Carmella versus Asuka. Both of those seem like they'd have some sort of screwy ending unless there's a title change. Right? I mean, you don't beat Rousey clean, and beating Rousey at all in her first singles match just seems like a bad idea. Yeah.
I feel with Ronda, though, they probably feel like they're not fully utilizing that asset, given how much interest there is in her in the WWE. So I don't know, Justin, do you think they're going to, again, have sort of a screwy ending with this, or do you think Ronda's going to walk away with that title?
I mean, if the match goes on after the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, then, I mean, there's definitely potential for something to happen of a screw. I mean, I think screwy finish is certainly more in favor between the Money in the Bank element, between the fact that we saw like Natty's Ronda's best friend on screen, and so I could see, Natty being jealous potentially. Yeah, I just can't see something. I can't see this being up front clean. And I'm not surprised that Ronda's getting a title match this quick. That doesn't surprise me. Like that's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm just so freaking shocked that the way they decided to create it. I understand doing it at a media event in New York City. That I could even understand. I'll even give them that. And I know there's other factors. Maybe NBC, I don't know. Maybe they wanted it requested. I don't know. I just can't believe that Ronda Rousey, the baddest woman on the planet, her first singles match and titles match on television is going to be, for WWE, is going to be the champion challenging her, and then they walk off embracing each other, talking about how they need water because their throats are raspy because they were just doing too many woos. What is that? At least stage an old Don King press conference and have the two women fighting each other on the red carpet.
This wasn't Tyson and Austin, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's no story, no heat, no build whatsoever. With Ronda, I think it might just be the Band-Aid, though. Remember when Kurt came in the WWE? I mean, my recollection, it was the same thing. It was like, oh, this guy's an Olympian. He's going to win. He's going to be untouchable. And then you have him lose, and then it's like, okay, now just he's another wrestler, still a star. But I think with Ronda,
I think even with all the you could have the entire women's roster beat down Ronda, and then she gets beat. Still beating her takes some of that aura off, and I just don't feel like you should be doing that yet. And I don't think Ronda should be in a title match yet. I think it should be a big story that leads to either WrestleMania or SummerSlam. It should be one of those two events. And if you want to do it sooner, SummerSlam isn't that far. You can have a great storyline. I like the Ronda versus Nia element because she is bigger than her. It looks more physically imposing. So, in the media outlets, that'll look impressive. And you could have Nia just be this monster heel that's aligned with Stephanie McMahon that's, out to kill Ronda. And it's a storyline that people would get. That I think the mainstream media would jump on, but doing this smiling, laughing, we were saying this last Monday, that's something that it'll get you on Extra and shows like that. But on ESPN they might show just a highlight, but that, I mean, like a 2-second highlight, but that's it. It's not something that sticks.
I think we've got 4 Raws between now and Money in the Bank. I could see Monday Stephanie McMahon interfering, saying, I didn't sanction this match. Maybe something to pump the brakes on this a little bit. Maybe.
I don't think they're going to backtrack from it now.
Yeah.
They spent all of Raw kind of building to it.
Yeah, they did re-show that 3 times.
Yeah, that was the big thing on Raw. It's like they don't show them quite smiling yet. So the next time they show the clip, then they're smiling and having fun. Gosh.
Like I was saying the other night,
wrestling
Matt,
with the smiles, WWE with the smiles, like the WrestleMania poster, everyone's smiling and having a good time. It's like,
well,
it's supposed to be about conflict. You know,
my God.
When
what was
a match is
WWE's corporate mission is they put smiles on people's faces and the talent.
I'd
forgotten
about this making the rounds. The 2005 Royal Rumble promo commercials been making the rounds where they had the guys doing West Side Story, talking about there's going to be a Rumble tonight. Like, I mean, WWE, come on.
They might as well. Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I mean, just imagine we talked about this Monday, Justin, but imagine a men's promo. Like, I challenge you to a match. Imagine Big Cass and Daniel Bryan then lock arms and skip off together to get Daniel Bryan some water because his voice is hoarse.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I understand that Nia is being portrayed. She's the face. I understand she's a face too. So like, I get that. So that's a little bit less forgiving of, okay, the face wants to be a fighting champion and she has to defend the title, so she wants to fight the best. I can even get. I mean, I'll give WWE all these passes on all that. I just can't get past them walking away. Like, in the segment in a stare down, ended in security to stepping in because they get nose to nose. Like, let me have a little bit of aggression. And by the way, that's going to get a whole lot more attention on the red carpet when you see these two women that look like they're getting ready to throw down.
Yeah. Yeah, if Nia just gave Ronda a little shove or something, but still, you know, like I'm saying in the chat, I just think they could have done a version 2 of like Austin McMahon, where you have Stephanie throwing these heels, you know, at Ronda, where you have Ronda just, you know, and then eventually you build to the champion Nia and Ronda. But anyway, that's not what they did.
So after the next Daniel Bryan Big Cass match, I want Big Cass to put Daniel Bryan up on his shoulders and take him out to get an ice cream cone. Because we're congenial in the WWE.
So they showed at the upfronts, they had a picture of Ronda Rousey with like Stephanie McMahon and Triple H and Nia and Charlotte. So, what are you going to do?
It's all about as valid as John Cena and Nikki Bella.
Nikki Bella.
Oh man. Oh God.
So what's the latest on? I feel weird that I'm following this now. I have zero interest in this, but it's newsworthy for what we cover. Has something happened? Did Nikki, wasn't there some quote like, oh, I'm just going to focus on me for now? Or
so, like, you know, it's funny. Anytime there's like a Nikki Cena article on the site, people are like, oh, this is crap. Why are you guys posting this? But then it's like the most read article that day.
And I should talk, right? It's like, I don't care about John Cena and Nikki Bella. Meanwhile, I have a Google News alert and I furiously am hitting refresh to see if Timeless gets renewed or canceled, you know? So it's like, you pick the things you're interested in, you know?
You know what's great is watching this from a non-wrestling person's perspective. My wife, who is a very, very much a pop culture fan, and she's a professional writer, so she's involved in like pop culture stuff, and she loved, you know, when the breakup news happened a few weeks ago, she was like devastated. She's like, this is horrible. She's like, this is he's got to feel terrible. She's got to feel terrible. And I'm like, you do understand that A, they have a reality show that follows them around, and B, they come from a world of pro wrestling which is built on a lie. So this might be false. And she's like, no. She's like, People Magazine has it, and People doesn't lie, and Us Magazine has it, and E Weekly. And then Monday we're watching Cena on the Today Show when he's like, you know, saying how much he loves Nikki and how terrible it's been since this breakup. And my wife turns to me and she goes, oh, this is so fake.
See, my wife. So when Cena and Nikki broke up, someone texted me, and I remember I went like, "Oh shit," you know, because I just didn't see that coming. And I told my wife, and she was like, "Oh my god," she was shocked. And she doesn't follow wrestling. She doesn't even follow Total Divas, Total Bellas. And she saw the thing on Monday, and she saw Cena, and she was like, "Aw." She did, you know, one of those, and I was like, "Man." I'm like, this thing, now it's exposed. Like, how much of it is fake? I don't know. They were scheduled to get married in May, 10 days ago or 11 days ago. The stuff this week, it's clearly, I mean, it's over the top phony that it's insulting your intelligence almost. And you got
for the WWE, that's saying something.
Yeah.
I'll just say, if Stephanie McMahon has been public about this, that back when her and Triple H had the real marriage, the real life marriage, that Vince wanted the wedding to be on pay-per-view. And they said, no, some things just had to be just for privacy. John Cena is the ultimate company guy because this is eventually going to end in Cena and Nikki getting married on the WWE Network.
It's SummerSlam or WrestleMania.
Matt texted me the other day. He's convinced it's not happening. He's convinced 100% that it's not going to happen.
That they're not going to get back together?
Yeah. Well, they're not going to get married. They got more seasons of Total Bellas and they'll probably get back together. So, it almost makes you wonder if like they decided to hold off on the marriage for now, do it later. And then they came up with this storyline that they split up because, I mean, it's clear the storyline that they're going with is that Nikki was unhappy or, with something. And because John is saying, he wants to have kids now and all this nonsense. I mean, it's good to have kids but if you want to have kids, but his promos have been nonsense. So anyway.
Nonsense, tax deductible.
You talk about insulting intelligence, and now it has me curious because I'm like, how dumb does the WWE think their fans are? Like, what's the profile? And the first thing that popped in my head was that computer screen from Weird Science when they're debating whether to give the woman a brain or not. And it just says, intelligence level 5th grader, slow learner, boring dipshit. And I just picture something like that up in Vince McMahon's office.
I don't think they're definitely not dumb. This is getting tons of media. It's all over the place. This season of Total Bellas is going to be the highest rated ever.
Yeah. So I think the fans are stupid though, because,
well, I think Cena, Nikki, Vince, whoever's behind all this, I think they know, okay, wrestling fans are going to like be able to identify that this has a storyline element to it. But to people like wives and to people who are just people that just watch the reality shows but don't watch, but don't know anything about what a work or shoot is, they're buying into this. Like, oh my God, John Cena, the cute guy I see in Hollywood, and Nikki Bella, she's so good. They're buying into this as real. So I mean,
right? It's not like all those reality shows, right? They have a script. They kind of have what they're going to do. Not all the verbiage and stuff isn't scripted, but what they do, what happens during that day. Kardashians, all that stuff, and a lot of people are not aware of that. They think that it's real, like it's completely. This is just what's happening in their life, and the camera happens to catch it all.
All reality shows it's just a sitcom or a drama, but just rather than being in an obvious TV studio, they just do it in real life places. That's all it is.
Right.
Everybody's got a character. And
I will tell you, there were times in Total Divas where they would capture stuff when it really happened. Like when Daniel Bryan couldn't wrestle, or someone got injured. I'm forgetting, but there were some things that they, captured backstage after they got back and things like that, which it's really intriguing. But you can kind of tell when it's real and when they're redoing it for the camera. And but anyway, that's reality TV, and they did a great job with this. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's the real difference these days compared to how wrestling was even 20 years ago, is the media used to kind of keep it at arm's length, right? Like Hulk Hogan would go on Jay Leno, set up that angle in WCW, but they would go on talk shows. It would be kind of like, oh yeah, that's great, you're going to beat the guy up. But now media like plays into kayfabe, and that's what Meltzer was talking about the other day. Like, whereas Sports Illustrated is writing articles that are respecting kayfabe and playing into kayfabe.
Right.
Like, that's the difference. As the media is really on board with this.
The media, it's weird how much WWE used to suck up to the media, and now how much the media is sucking up to WWE for access or whatever. But absolutely. ESPN doesn't write anything critical at WWE. Sports Illustrated, these sites that are, these were the sports media outlets growing up, and now they just suck up to them. But
in any other industry, it would be a huge scandal to have this kind of access journalism. You see it a little bit in mainstream entertainment, but if this were politics or legitimate sports, people would be calling out these journalists left and right for not being objective.
Yeah. Like, you don't see any of the Saudi Arabia stuff, the criticism.
Yeah.
You don't see like any of the real stuff.
When the Moolah thing happened, I think Deadspin was the most. Or actually, Newsweek picked up the Deadspin article. But when's the last time Newsweek covered WWE? If they wanted to, though. I mean, look at Rolling Stone.
Now they are.
Yeah. Very weird.
But yeah, I mean, it's like when Cena and Nikki, after they got engaged, they still to this day try to act like they had no idea it was coming. When the storyline building to that match was Miz and Maurice taunting them about not getting married. I mean, definitely leading to that. Every wrestling fan saw that. So anyway, it is what it is. Cena and Nikki are living kind of that kayfabe life in a lot of ways. Who knows? I think they're together right now, honestly.
Yeah. I don't know.
I could see them having split and then they got back together. Now they're doing all this stuff in the media. Nikki's supposed to be on Today, the Today Show today. I think she's already been on, and to respond to what Cena's been saying.
Christ. You know what I miss? Actually, John Cena needs to do this again. John Cena needs to go on Howard Stern again. I rewatched that clip from, what was it, when the first Marine came out, when Cena was on Howard Stern?
Talking about all the women he's been with.
Oh my God. It was like the most polite, it was the most cordial, polite, yet dirty interview you have ever heard. And it was John Cena who gave it.
Did he say something like he's banged like his fatties?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Women all shapes, sizes.
Everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's on YouTube. It's like, you listen to that, but it's still John Cena, company man John Cena, there with a handshake and a smile, just talking about sex life.
I believe in hustle, loyalty, respect, and no matter what your body type is, you should be entitled to some good love with John Cena.
Essentially. So yeah, I think if he went on Stern again, we would get to the bottom of what's really going on.
Oh yeah, that's why he won't.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. So tune in Monday for more on the John Cena, Nikki Bella developments.
There's gonna be more. I mean, that Nikki stuff is gonna be on soon. So if you're interested, it'll be on the site.
Let's get Nikki on Stern. That's the interview we really want to hear.
Oh my God.
Let Howard just dig away at her.
I feel like, is it true your stepfather first became aware of you in a lingerie magazine because he wanted to hook up with you and your sister? Yeah. Really good stuff. Oh man.
Yeah, the Bella's on to the Today Show is up, is out now. So anyway,
we got anything else before we take this home? I love just this devolves in the last 10 minutes of the podcast.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'm sending something. Yeah, Ronda Rousey making her house show debut today.
Oh, that's right. 3 nights in a row in London. Yeah. Raw, SmackDown, and a house show. I'm curious, did tonight sell out as well?
Yeah, so and she's going to be apparently wrestling on a couple episodes of Raw coming up. She's they're billing her in Buffalo next month and saying that she's wrestling. So it could be a dark match. I think that's the smart way to do it, especially if you're getting ready for the pay-per-view to work it out. But yeah, that's happening. So Rousey, she's wrestling way more than Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. Funny.
I mean, by the end of next month, she would have wrestled, more times than Brock Lesnar has all year.
Oh man. Well, we shall see. We'll be back here Monday night. Wrestling Inc. Myself, Raj Giri, Mr. Matt Morgan. Justin, where can people find your stuff online?
On Twitter at Justin LaBar. It's got the podcast links and everything, and there will be a fun announcement by the end of the week of a very cool live event experience for anybody who wants to get to Pittsburgh in mid-July, involving myself and the wonderful Something to Wrestle With crew of Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson. So make sure you're on my Twitter later this week, and we'll have all the details.
Awesome. Raj, what do you got coming up on the site aside from that Today Show clip?
Yeah, someone said I wrestle more than Brock. Interview highlights, interview that our own Andy Malinowski did with Ken Shamrock and Scott Steiner. So those are coming up on the site in the next week or two.
Awesome, man. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. You can find me on Twitter at Glenn Rubenstein. I tweet along with Raw, SmackDown, most weeks NXT. And of course, you can follow Wrestling Inc. on Twitter as well. Until next time, folks, we'll see you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.